Welcome to Toxic Sips podcast. I am Jess.
And I'm Ceci.
This is Toxic Sips' spooky sister, just so we're all in the loop.
We all know what's going on.
Yeah.
In last week's episode, we did release a trivia question that was, in Scream, what is rule number 1 on Randy's list of rules of surviving a horror movie?
I'm reading here that it says to have a bunch of sex. Like tons of sex.
I think.
No.
How long have you had those contacts in?
Like a month. Hold on. Wait. Oh, it says don't have sex.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. Well, okay, we're not doing that. Don't do it, guys. Abstinence, as they teach you in church. Okay, we're dropping
Abstinence is key.
Well, this week in our spooky adventure, we are covering urban legends and spooky stories, and you have to decipher with us whether or not they're real, or fake. Mm-hmm. Let's dive into this cauldron of bones. Oh, I am up. This one goes out for my friend Julia, who shared with me the tales of the Huaki-Pau. In Hawaii, spooky stuff absolutely goes down, and it's haunted as fuck. So she has said to me, let's talk about the night marchers. Imagine going to Hawaii, and you're thinking, vacations, bikinis, snorkeling. Let's all close our eyes. Okay. Ceci, just you close your eyes, since I have to read this, and I can't read this if my eyes are closed. But listeners, close your eyes too. So we're all having our eyes closed, but Jess. Picture yourself on a scenic Hawaiian beach at night. Imagine a full moon and a cool breeze running across the sand. Dreamy, right? Mm-hmm. Now imagine faint sounds of pounding drums, and then you see a barrage of torches out on the horizon. No big deal.
It's a party.
It's a party. But then it's your worst nightmare. You are met with ancient Hawaiian warriors dedicated to protecting the islands from all outside threats, including you. Dun, dun, dun. Okay, you guys can open your eyes now. And you can only kind of save yourself if you lay down and pee on yourself in submission. Or if by some weird off 23andMe chance, coincidence, you share a bloodline with one of the warriors. So
you better be praying that you real hard.
But also the whole pee thing is funny because that also debunks they're like, oh, if you ever get stung by a jellyfish,
to pee on
yourself.
Pee on it, yeah.
Apparently, you're just degrading yourself for no reason. It does absolutely nothing. The first alleged encounter with the night marchers was recorded when Captain Cook arrived on Hawaii shores in 1778. In modern times, their spirits have been reported all throughout the islands, mainly at the sites of sacrificial temples and other sacred grounds. Oh, and oddly enough, also at the corporate Davies Pacific Center building in downtown Honolulu. So not just cool places, but business places too.
We don't shame.
We don't shame. They'll come at you wherever. They often march down the mountainside after sunset, accompanied by the sounds of conch shells, rhythmic drumming, and oli chants. Why do these spooky spirits march as so? When an ali'i, chief, passed through a village, his warriors blew conch shells and beat pahu drums to announce his arrival. Ooh, commoners were expected to stare at the ground, never ever making eye contact. So no, I'm not looking. And the consequences of disobeying the kapu tabu was death.
It's like those, you know how some people, they could be very intimidating, so you don't even want to look their way. Or in class, at least this is what I would do. When the teacher would ask questions, I would just look down.
Right?
Or pretend like I'm doing something so that they won't call on me. Or presentations wise, they won't pick on me.
I feel it's such a defense mechanism too. Just to
just to look another way.
Yeah. I think I've tried to get better at it because I'm like, nah, man. And this is going to sound weird, but I'm in real life, I'm real tiny, you know? Mm-hmm. So I've worked on sets where I've felt intimidated by my peers or even people more higher up on the hierarchy of the production scale.
Right.
And they tend to be white.
Yeah.
And so because I'm a little brown girl, I'm like, but honestly, I think as I gain more confidence, I'm like, no, I'm going to look you up. Even if you're a whole foot, I'm looking you up. Mm-hmm. And now I'm going to look away because that was too much for me.
I've never thought about it that way. I feel like on set I'm very comfortable with people.
Yeah. So then this way you're like, okay, we are equals.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Like I didn't think of that. Like when you were bringing that up, because the new thing I picked up, like I'm sitting at a desk all day checking people in. I'm like, hi, how are you?
Right, you have to make the eye
like
contact.
wide-eyed. I'm like, hello.
Yeah. So I'm telling you. Well, the chiefs apparently just weren't leaders like our superiors in different work-like settings. They held immense mana, spiritual power, and were often thought of as physical representations of the gods. The warriors tasked to protect the Ali'i continued to do their duties into the afterlife as the night marchers. Since Hawaiian was only a spoken language at the time of Western contact, the first written account of the night marchers wasn't until 1883. The document described various sightings of ghost soldiers following the spirit of King Kamehameha?
Yeah.
Kamehameha.
Kamehameha.
That sounds right. The Great on the Big Island. This wasn't the only claim by Hawaii residents who have seen the frightening ghosts of the night. Indeed, the legend of the night marchers are still told throughout the Hawaiian Islands today, with more than a few locals who proclaim they are not just a fairy tale. So my friend Julia was like, yeah, my auntie said this, like she's seen, you know? I think that's so awesome because it's kind of like when your auntie culturally tells you about La Llorona, you know? But this is like the night marchers because there's a lot of death that happened in Hawaii.
Suspicious.
Suspicious. Across the island chain, residents have reported seeing a line of torches moving down the mountains, many times in areas with sheer cliffs and no roads or trails for miles. So like, who's up there? Some say the night marchers leave just their footprints behind, while others claim they float above the ground without leaving a trace. And we made this joke about like when you hear about people like, oh, and there were no survivors.
Yeah.
Then how did you hear about the tale in the first place? And so in this case, well, if there were no footprints. Anyway. In either case, the universal understanding among believers is that you should never cross a night marcher's path. Don't forget, if you do end up crossing their path, however, lay on the floor and look down, and whatever you do not make eye contact. The ancient spirits are thought to be most active during the new moon and near sacred sites such as Hio temples, caves, and areas once reserved for the Ali'i. On Oahu, there are numerous reports of night marchers in Ka'awa Valley, Yokohama Bay, Kaini Point, Kalama Valley, and Waimanalo, among many others.
So I will say this. You know how people are like, what are you going to do? Like, you know how, at least for me, my main thing is I hide under my blanket if I'm scared. Oh. Like, everybody's like, well, what's that going to do? In this case, it would help me.
It literally
I'm not looking at it.
If I can't see you, you can't see me.
So that argument is valid.
It is, see, for all of you people shaming Cece for her defense mechanism tactics. Clearly, they've saved her life.
It works.
Whether you believe these legends or write them off as a local superstition, consider yourself warned.
Ooh. Well, my pick for urban legends is the same thing. I'm just kidding.
By the way, we didn't plan this properly and we wrote the exact same thing.
Well, this is something that I've heard about multiple times throughout my life, and that is the black-eyed children. And Jess, have you heard of them?
I have. I heard about some parking incident with some people.
Yeah. So basically, this is what I knew before going into this. These kids can be anywhere between like 5 to 18 years old. They usually ask for you to let them into their house, or your house, I mean, or your car, like you said, a parking thing. And they're usually like their faces are hidden in like a shadow type thing. Most of the encounters have been during like the night or evening time. So there's not much light out. And it's a little tough to see that their eyes are black. However, if you let them in, nothing good happens. I do know that.
Oh, no.
Yeah, so that's all I knew beforehand. So let's get into it a little bit more.
Okay.
There's been many stories all regarding kids with black eyes coming up to someone's house or car. They'll knock and demand for you to let them in. And it's said that whoever they come up to, they start feeling an overwhelming, like a sense of dread, like like a turning in your stomach. It's
Never trust children, just in general.
In general.
They are the master manipulators.
Yeah, they are. These kids, they look normal. Like maybe they'll have some outdated clothes, but other than that, and the black eyes, of course, they look like normal kids.
Mm-hmm.
They're usually between the ages of 6 to 16. I was off by a few years, but I was close.
Real close.
Yep. And some people, however, have reported that they have talon-like feet. Like, you know how birds have like the claw things?
Mhm.
Like something like that. It's only a small portion of people claiming this, though. Because I don't know. I don't think if a kid came up to my door, I would look at his feet first.
No. Mm-mm.
I feel like feet are the last thing, unless they're like really cool shoes. But I don't really pay attention to the lower bottoms of people.
Yeah, like if you don't have swag that makes me go from up to down.
Yeah, then
I waste my
you
time.
have other issues. The earliest recorded sighting of them goes as follow. So it's an early spooky story. Brian Bethel, a journalist from Abilene, Texas, describes a late evening out in his vehicle. He had stopped in a parking lot near a movie theater to write a check. He was so absorbed in this that he didn't notice two young boys approaching his car. He didn't notice until the older boy tapped the driver's side window, and he rolled down his window and noted immediately a soul-racking fear, though he couldn't understand why. But also, I've been approached in my car during daylight by... And I have an issue where I'm very friendly, especially to older people. And I rolled down my window and I started talking to them.
Oh, there was a horror movie with old people as the villains.
Really?
Yeah, you should watch that.
Yeah, I was talking. The conversation, it was fine until it got a little weird. He was like, yeah, like I'm just trying to find work right now. Like, you look a lot like my late wife. And I was like, oh, I'm sorry. I was like, I'm sorry for your loss. And he's like, oh, it's been a while. I'm not planning on meeting anyone else. It's just you look a lot like her. And I just wanted to see how you're doing. I'm like, I'm doing okay. I'm actually late.
But,
like, I'm running late.
Thanks for sharing such intimate
after
details.
he said that, I'm like, I feel bad, but I gotta go.
It's like when you go to the grocery store or the drive-through or something. And they go, oh, how's your day going? Or, oh, good. How's your day going? Well, I just had a really hard day. And you're like, oh my gosh.
Yeah. And I remember that day, Matt and I had just gotten into an argument. That's why I was in the parking lot in the first place.
Oh, no.
And I was like, oh, I gotta go.
Don't make me take it off on you, sir.
Like, where am I gonna go?
This was my safe place.
Yeah. Well, moving on from that. The older boy said that he and his brother wanted to catch a movie but had forgotten their money at home and asked if Bethel could give them a ride back home and then back to the movies.
That's
a big ask.
That's a huge ask. I don't even know you.
Yeah. I'm like, whose kids are you?
Where's your mom?
Also, if you get pulled over and you have two random kids in your car, that's not going to look good either.
Sorry, bro. It ain't me.
Yeah. So he was thinking the same thing. And they assured him that, like, it wouldn't take long. They were just two kids and that they didn't have a gun.
Oh, thank you. Thank you
I
for
know. That makes me
reassuring
feel so much better.
Glad your mind went there.
Yeah. Bethel found the assurances unnerving and noted that the last showing of the film they wanted to see had already started and would be nearly over by the time he would drive them anywhere and get back. In his recount of the incident, he stated that when he broke eye contact with them, his fear became all-encompassing, and it wasn't until he broke eye contact that their eyes became completely blacked out, which... How does he know they were black if he broke eye contact?
Back to the, and there was no one left alive. Then how do we know this?
The older boy began to get frustrated when Bethel made excuses for not giving them a ride and said that they couldn't get into the car unless Bethel said it was okay. After that, Bethel tore out of the parking lot, and to this day, he still stands by this story. I don't know, just because of that last part where it's like, it's a little confusing to really know if you want to believe this or not. Because, like, how do you know they're black eyes?
If you were looking away.
Yeah. So it's like, I don't know. And there's many people who didn't believe in his story, but he stuck by it. And it actually caused more people to come forward about their own experiences with black-eyed children.
Little children of the corn, if you will.
Yep. And there's a good amount that take place in Texas. So
Well, that's because Texas is like a big old open space.
It is. And there's a lot of room for activity.
A lot of room for activity.
Yeah. Some of these experiences date back to the early 50s and the mid 70s. Of course, as we've seen with Slender Man, if it's big online, they'll make a movie out of it, and they did. It doesn't look like it did too well, though. The movie is called Black-Eyed Children Let Me In, and its logline is, an aspiring filmmaker embarks on a journey investigating the nightmarish and haunting stories behind the Black-Eyed Children phenomenon. It has a whopping 2.6 out of 10 stars based off of 114 reviews on IMDb.
Oh, that sucks.
And it's, I don't know if... I have this thing, and I guess it's stereotyping, but I think any horror movie that follows an aspiring filmmaker is not going to be good.
Oh, it's like too meta.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like, because they don't acknowledge it. Like, if they were to acknowledge it and like make fun of it, then it would be enjoyable, I would think.
But it's almost taking itself too seriously.
Yeah.
And you're like, I can't take this seriously. But also, not everything you hear about needs to be remade.
Yeah, no. But, you know, many other films, they know the kids. They know about this whole phenomenon, and they made them as well. But I'm assuming that they didn't do as well because I've never heard of any, like, really good ones.
No, me neither.
No. The only reason I know of Slender Man is because it came out at a time where I was, like, literally watching every horror movie to come out.
Yeah.
And it had, like, Joey King. So she kind of was bigger at that time. Because of like a Netflix thing that came out. That's the only reason that I went to go watch it. It's like because I felt like I needed to.
I never watched that movie, but then again, I don't watch a lot of things.
Okay.
But the only reason I even know about Slender Man is because these two girls, right, in real life in the Midwest somewhere, like killed classmates.
They didn't kill her. They tried to.
Oh, that's what it was.
Yeah, so they did stab her like multiple times, but she was able to crawl back out of the woods, and she told him, she's like, it's these two girls, they're the ones that did it. And it's weird because I think they were like 12 or 14.
Yeah, they were little. They weren't like not.
And one of them like was like, yeah, I'm so sorry. Like she showed remorse, and the other one was like, okay.
Yeah, like, she was so like, Slender Man told me to do it. Yeah. So what's the problem?
So weird. But yeah, that one I also know it from like video games and stuff. So but I apologize to everyone watching, and you, Jess. Well, you already knew about them, but because while I'm doing my readings and, you know, I'm learning as I go and I type as I go, I came across something. And if you didn't already know the Black-Eyed Kids before, again, I'm sorry. Because supposedly they only approach people who know about them.
So this is like the ending, spoiler alert, to the last Ring movie, where they just completely gave up on the videotape and just went digital.
Yes.
And spread it through all the emails.
Same thing with, again, spoiler alert, the Truth or Dare movie that came out with Lucy Hale. At the end, they're like, we can't, it's just going back and forth between like 2 or 3 people. So they just record themselves asking Truth or Dare and put it on YouTube, and everybody's watching it.
This is when horror decides that capitalism is the way to go.
It's like, we only got one more way to go.
This is a true enemy, a true evil. Mass production.
So if it makes you feel any better, I've known about them for some years now, and I haven't been approached yet, or at least I don't think I have.
Well, maybe that man. No, I'm just kidding.
I mean, it's a man.
But
however,
no, just kids.
Just kids in general. Yeah,
be freaky creatures.
Yeah, on Halloween, on any other days where you have kids coming up to your door or car, just check their eyes, look away, check
again,
eyes.
Do what Cece does, what she like kind of looks over, left,
see.
look right.
Yeah. So there's not much else to this one. You know, it's pretty short and simple. There is a story out there about an old couple though who did let them into their house, and they didn't like kill them or anything, but they were asking to come into the house because they wanted to call their parents because they were lost in a neighborhood, and it's an old couple. They're like, yeah, sure, come on in. And they called, and just a bunch of weird stuff started happening. Like the lights were going off and on, and like I guess they're like they thought it was an earthquake, and the kids are like, oh, our parents are here.
Oh. Who, the devil? Like the devil? I mean,
know. And then the kids eventually walked out, and they didn't die right away, but they did die like shortly after.
Oh,
yeah, from complications.
See what happens when you are nice. I'm just kidding.
Don't be nice.
Don't be nice to children. No, I'm just kidding.
Be good people, but be aware.
Yeah. Be vigilant.
So, yeah, let's get on to some spooky stories.
All right. So, this is a part of the show where we have to figure out if it's real or if it's fake. I could easily be making all of this up. As you guys know, we are storytellers. So, it's our job to sensationalize things sometimes for the sake of giving you something to let your imagination play with, right? So, is it real or is it fake? We're going to find out. Let me introduce you to 2 barmaids, 5 alligators, and the butcher of Elmendor. So I'll post this up in the video. For those that are just listening, check out this classy fella. So modest in his bathing suit, it's a black and white photo. He's at the beach having a whiskey of all things while holding a pair of binoculars. So this is an old-timey photo where he's wearing a bathing suit that looks like something I would wear in current time called a romper.
Yeah, I was going to say a romper.
This is Joe Ball. Well, Joe Ball served in the front lines during World War I. However, his first gig was being a bootlegger, providing illegal alcohol to those who could pay.
So not burning CDs from Blockbuster?
No, or ripping DVDs or filming them inside of the movie theater.
Yeah, so not that. Okay, just to be clear.
He lived between the time of 1896 and 1938, which means his bootlegging would have taken place during Prohibition, another time that the government overstepped and told us we couldn't do things. So in this case, as you know, Prohibition killed a lot of people in the sense that people were making alcohol in their shower tubs and people were like buying all this stuff. That's why you had speakeasies and like, are you guys having a party down here? No.
It's just a sleepover.
It's a sleepover. And all these people are drinking literally poison made in bathrooms with no regulations because the government was like, you guys can't buy liquor. Anyway, Prohibition came and went, so the man opened up a saloon in Elmendorf, Texas. Behind the saloon was a pond that he created, and mind you, this pond was essentially a pool, like modern day pools.
Okay.
It had 5 alligators in it, and as an entrepreneur, these alligators weren't gonna just live there without paying their rent. He charged people to see them, but especially during feeding time. What do you think he fed them, though?
I'm going to take a guess because, you know how I listen to too much true crime.
All the time.
So I'm going to say he fed them drunk people.
Drunk people. I would feed them drunk people. Like, what is it? The guy from The Simpsons?
Oh.
Who never leaves?
Because the bar is Moe's. It's not Moe's, right?
Barney.
Oh, okay.
Barney never leaves. So he'd be feeding essentially the Barneys of the town. No. Mostly live cats and dogs.
Oh.
Live. They were alive.
Yeah, that's sad.
His spot was so hot. Like, oh my God, so hot.
Like, it's the place to be.
It's litty, even though it wasn't. It's not good.
I feel like it would smell.
It would. Yeah. So due to having pretty waitresses that came and went, despite its attraction, not everyone liked Joe. The neighbor hated the smell that came from the gator pit, and Joe wasn't the nice neighbor that'd go like, oh, sorry, sir. Yeah, let me Febreze that right up for you. Instead, he threatened him with a pistol whip for it. Like, you need to fuck off.
Yeah. Leave my gators alone.
Leave my gators alone. For Joe Ball, things seemed to be going well, despite the fact that his waitresses just for some reason kept leaving in the middle of the night, never telling anyone when they would be leaving. This was until 1937, when one such waitress, Minnie Gotthard, 22, had worried family members. Ultimately, they ended up speaking to the police. As Minnie was employed by Ball, the police questioned him, but unable to find any substantial evidence, he was cleared of any involvement. So,
interesting. It sounds a lot like when we talked yesterday. I was like, "This is the Tiger King," and I'm like, just seeing more and more. So, did you watch that documentary? No. Okay, there's another guy called I think Doc or something, where he also has like some weird suspicious stuff going on. Like he lets girls live there, I believe, but as long as they're like helping out with the tigers. So I don't know. Because there was also like, I don't know, he's probably treating those girls weird because sometimes they would just leave out of nowhere.
Oh.
So, some more parallels.
Yeah. A few months later, another family went to the police since they too couldn't find their missing daughter, who coincidentally worked for Ball as well. So the police show up at his door and he tells them the bar waitress was having trouble in town and wanted to leave town. The police go and check out her spot, obviously, because now they got to do some investigating. And all her clothes are still there. So they go back to him, and this time suddenly he remembers, oh yeah, I loaned her $500 because she was having roommate trouble. So she couldn't go back there. And, I'm thinking about the time frame and I'm like, wow. So in 37, they were still having to have roommates and the cost of living was still very unachievable. Yep. So he was cleared, clearly. In the next few months, 2 more employees went missing and the local police turned the case over to Texas Rangers. They were keen to see that the people vanishing were Ball's employees. They were like, wait a second, 1 + 1 is 2. And if this doesn't rack up spice levels, I don't know what will. No one had seen Ball's second or third wives because it kept running out on him. But it's like,
gets a little suspicious after you have 3.
Right?
2. Yeah.
Sir, how many wives does one need?
Yeah.
Anyway, the Rangers questioned Ball, but he would not crack. He was like, nope, I don't know.
Like,
I just work here.
They just keep walking out. Like,
I just work here.
I guess I'm just a piece of shit.
I suck as a boss, but I don't know. However, his handyman was singing all the tunes. He told the Rangers that Ball would force him at gunpoint to feed pieces of female corpses to the gators. Remember that bullied neighbor that we talked about earlier? Well, he came back to town.
Okay.
And basically he told the Rangers that he left town because he witnessed Ball hacking up pieces of meat from a human and feeding it to the gators.
Why would you not tell someone about it?
Right? Why are you running away, sir?
I know. Like, get your house back.
See something, say something. Yeah, so the police ultimately ended up showing up to the saloon. Ball, understanding the vibe and what was about to take place, in a moment of stoic symbolism, if you will, hit the ching, no sale sign button on the cash register, grabbed his pistol, and he went down guns blazing. Pa, 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 pa. No, that's not what happened. No. But that would have been cool.
That'd be cool.
He shot himself and died from a suicide.
Okay.
Joe Ball took his secrets to the grave and we'll never truly know how many women ended up being gator food. So, is this a real or fake story?
I'm going to say just because Tiger King is out there, and if that's out there, I'm sure there's other things going on. So, I'm going to say it's real.
It is real. It is a real story. The alligators were ultimately sent off to San Antonio Zoo, and we're hoping at this point, well, they'll be dead by now, I think, but they're also like kind of technically dinosaurs, so maybe, I don't know. It's been a long time.
Yeah. I don't know. I think the lifespan is like maybe 30 years, 30, 40.
I have no clue. I'm not a gator expert.
Siri, what's the...
I may be a croc expert. And when I mean
croc,
a shoe croc expert, because I love me some Crocs, but I don't know how long an alligator survives.
30 to 50 years.
Well, they're dead already. Well, let's hope that when they went to the San Antonio Zoo, they were giving a brand new diet that did not consist of eating their caretakers. Yeah. Director Toby Hopper of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, #1, the original, was really inspired by this Joe Ball story. And 2 years after he made Texas Chainsaw Massacre, he created another movie called Eaten Alive. And that was based off of Joe Ball. Ball's third wife eventually surfaced years later. It seemed that she knew about her predecessor's fate and decided that she wasn't trying to go out the same way. Yeah. She was like, that's going to be a no for me, dog. She ran away, but knew about 4 or so murders. So she actually didn't end up going to jail herself since she didn't aid and abet or whatever that's called. But she was like, I'm out of here. I'm not doing this.
Yeah. Like, this is the information I know. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah. But she was like, all I know is that I don't want to die.
Yeah.
The other two ladies, I don't know what happened to them, but I ain't going to be a third.
Yeah. Spooky.
Spoopy.
Alrighty. Well, mine is going to be a little bit different. I have multiple like little stories from a certain something, which I will say right now. But one of these is not true. Okay. So it's up to the audience and you to try to pick out which one's the fake one. So, I'm sure everyone has at least heard of the movie The Exorcist, but some might not know that it's based off of a book that happens to be based on a true story. Now, I'm not going to go depth into the true story since you can always read the book or watch the movie or just do your own research.
Do your own damn research, guys.
Yeah. So, the basic info about the true story is Roland Doe was 14 years old when priests from the Roman Catholic Church spent a little over a year performing several exorcisms on the boy. Scientists and believers differ on their opinions of the events. Psychiatrists believe the boy suffered from mental illness. However, during the ordeal, some of these people say the face of the devil appeared on the boy's leg as the voice of Saint Michael came out of the boy's mouth, demanding that the devil leave the boy's body, which is very interesting. Now that I think about it, I don't think any movies have done something like that, where it's like the demon's inside, but so is like an angel.
Oh, yeah,
It's mainly just the demon being in there, and it's the priest coming in and like taking it out of them. Interesting. Unless Supernatural, if you count that.
I was going to count Supernatural.
That's very scary. So, of course, they make it into a movie, and well, this set had a lot of weird things going on. So we're going to get into the real horrors first, the aging of the human body.
Oh my God, don't talk to me about it.
The director, William Friedkin, I don't know, wanted to get genuine reactions from the cast, and he would keep the set freezing cold because he wanted to be able to see the actor's breath. So I believe it's towards the end in those scenes where it's like dark in her room and you see their breath, that's not added in, that's their actual breath.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Also, can we rewrite this contract? Because
there's like pictures from them on set where like all the crew's all bundled up and stuff, and the poor actors are there like nothing. So, I actually found that because the AC units were left on 24/7. One day they came to set and there was legit like a thin layer of snow on the set.
Oh wow, because it was that
cold. The ACs were running all the time. Like
that reminds me of like how they created the Blair Witch Project. Like, well, basically they were like, oh, we're gonna do this horror film situation, and then they didn't really disclose a lot to the actors, so they kept doing things where, like, for example, at night, like things would happen, but it wasn't like they scared them in real life.
Okay.
But they just like withheld information.
Right. So I know a lot of directors do that, especially with like those slasher films. Like they tell them that they're going to be here, but they don't tell them which corner they're going to pop out of or something.
Yeah. But but it wasn't even during filming. It was also outside of it. So like when you're supposed to be sleeping or resting or whatever, they're just messing with them all the time.
Like Jared Leto when he was the Joker.
Yeah. It's a legit trauma on set.
Poor people. This did some scarring down the road as Linda Blair, who plays Reagan's character. She hates being in cold weather to this day, and I can understand why.
Yeah.
Ellen Burstyn, who plays Chris's character, she's Reagan's mom. She was yanked back by a wire too hard in the crucifix scene. If you remember, like the demon child has her and like throws her.
Yeah.
And she ended up breaking her coccyx and spine, like her lower spine where it connects.
Oh man.
And they used the take in the movie since her scream was like so jarring and this guy wanted everything genuine. So she actually said in an interview, Billy motioned, I think she's talking about the director, like his nickname, motioned to Owen, the cameraman, to tilt the camera down on me. And I saw it and I was so furious and said, turn the fucking camera off. Like, I'm in pain here.
Yeah.
She wasn't the only one getting hurt on set, though. Linda Blair got a slight fracture of the spine from the scene where she's like being bounced on the bed. Yeah, like it's throwing her up. Eventually, this fracture did develop into scoliosis later in her life.
Wow.
Yeah, so poor her.
We are rewriting these contracts, people.
Yeah, she was 12 when this happened, and this injury is like a lifetime.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not only did this poor girl get her back messed up, but she was receiving death threats at 12 years old. Like, she's a kid.
Yeah, people, this goes back to like the fantasy of not being able to separate it.
Yeah.
The kid that played King Joffrey in Game of Thrones.
Oh, right.
Man,
yeah.
that kid was...
hated him.
Ooh, poor kid. Which means he did a fantastic job.
Yeah, and that's what they say about her. Like, she did such a real job that people actually believe that the devil was in
inside,
her.
Yeah.
And I didn't put this in, like, so, like, fun fact. The lady who voiced the demon that's coming out of her, the director didn't want to put her in the credits so that people would think it's the little girl making that voice.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. But obviously the actor who was voicing her, she's like, no, I'm going to get my credits. So, yeah. Oh, because imagine if they didn't and people thought that was her real voice. It would have been worse. Yeah.
But also, Hollywood is all about precedents. Not presidents, but setting a precedent. I can't say it. Precedent.
President.
Not president.
Presidents.
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 We're going to just play with that word all day. But basically, once you've established a certain role, especially with the role in credits, you know, like you don't normally get demoted, if you will.
Right.
It's always like, oh, I'm an assistant producer. I'm an assistant producer. Okay. I'm an executive producer. Now I'm an executive producer. I can't go back down to be an assistant. Yeah.
Which, fun fact, like all those, they don't really mean much. Like if you do something that'll help the film in like a tiny way, they'll throw a producer credit at you.
Yeah.
It's not as great as it sounds. But it was really concerning, like that all these death threats she was getting, to the point where Warner Brothers, because they were the ones who released the movie, they sent bodyguards to just protect her for over 6 months after the movie's release.
Wow.
Yeah. So poor Linda.
Yeah, poor girl.
Yeah. However, on set, this is like the slight, like she was happy about it on set. She had a best friend that happened to be a feline. It's so cute. It was, and it was actually a black cat, and she saw that it was fitting because you know how black cats are typically bad luck. She's like, oh, I'm in a scary movie. It's a black cat. And in an interview, she states, in between scenes to pass the time, I would go and play with Rusty. This is a nickname she gave the cat. And it's cute, right? Well, apparently, one day while she was looking for Rusty, she couldn't find him anywhere on set. So she asked the AD, Rob Fanner, which, a fun fact, he also played like one of the other demon voices. I don't know. He's credited in the IMDb as it. I haven't seen that movie in a long time.
They say.
Yeah, so she asked if he'd seen the cat. And in the interview, she continues, he seemed confused at first, but then told me no and asked me to check with some of the other crew members. And in my head, I'm like, okay. Like, who else would have access to the fucking cat?
Right.
Like, and then that's when I looked. I think there is a dog. I want to say there is a dog.
Okay.
Maybe not throughout the whole movie, but like just like a shot or a scene or something. And so I'm assuming, oh, it's probably the animal wrangler, whatever. So she goes on to say how she continued to ask multiple people on set, and many said they'd never seen a cat there before. And she, in the interview, after that day, I never saw Rusty again. So can we get a hashtag find Rusty 2021? Like, he might not be alive, but we just need to know what happened to him.
What happened to him?
Yeah, in reality, it could have just been a stray that might have, you know.
It could have been a stray, clearly. Oh my gosh.
Or was it a ghost cat? Ooh. There was also a mysterious fire that was pretty big, considering it took down most of the home set. Ooh. Since that whole thing, it was just a set. It wasn't an actual house. There was only one room that went untouched by the fire, though. Jess and you guys, do you want to take a guess as to what it is? What room it was?
The attic.
The attic? No.
The bathroom.
No, I will give you the answer.
Okay. The basement.
The answer is Reagan's room, where most of the weird stuff takes place in the movie. So they couldn't find any electrical problem or really anything that could have caused the fire. And as of now, the supposed cause of the fire is a bird flew directly into a circuit box, which caused sparks to fly and fall onto the set. Likely story, but okay.
I mean, birds are suicidal.
It was a pigeon. They said it was a pigeon.
Pigeons are the worst.
Yeah, unless it was a remote controlled pigeon.
Ooh, the batteries probably ran out and it fell into that. It all makes sense.
So after this fire, they got an actual priest to bless the set, and they used him as a consultant for the rest of the shoot to make sure they didn't do anything that they shouldn't have been doing. Mm-hmm. A few more injuries to mention before we get to the kind of the weirdest thing happening involving the film is a carpenter lost a thumb and a lighting technician lost a toe. So my first thought for the lighting technician was, what kind of shoe was he wearing?
Was he not wearing the steel toe or the rubber or whatever the heck?
Shoes? Yeah, because that's like the first thing they teach you in class. Like, don't wear open-toed shoes. They have to be like not mesh shoes either. Yeah. Like something that'll protect you.
I've been guilty to wear my Crocs on set.
I mean, I'm not in that area, so I can wear mainly whatever I would want to. I try not to wear like sandals or anything because you never know. Yeah, I don't want to lose a toe. Okay, because if he was wearing flip-flops, I could understand him losing the toe. I don't think these are too weird considering their jobs, but with all the other weird things going on, I don't know. Oh, and also, one of the actors in the film was convicted of killing film industry journalist Addison Verrill and sentenced to 20 years in prison.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Okay, all right.
Yeah, he didn't have a huge role in the film. His name is Paul Bateson, and he only played, I don't know if you remember, but when she's getting like all the testing done in the hospital, he plays the technician that's like explaining to her what's going to happen in the procedure and all that. So he has speaking lines. Yeah. But it's so weird, like,
who knew you'd hire a murderer, a real life murderer?
Many consider this to be the most disturbing scene in the film, I guess, considering the realism of it. And it just makes it creepier knowing that this guy would eventually kill someone.
Yeah, like, and you said he killed like a writer or something? A journalist? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, who was known by like the industry.
Yeah.
So, all right. Now time for the super odd thing, the amount of deaths surrounding the film. I'll take a moment for you guys to guess, like how many. So
7.
Close. If you guess 9, you would be correct.
Dang it, that was my next choice.
During production, 2 crew members passed away, one on-set technician and one night watchman. I couldn't find any how did they die? Yeah. In addition to this, during production, Linda and Max von Sydow, who played Father Lancaster Marin, they both lost family members while they were on set. Aww. Before the movie was released, Jack McGowan, who played Burke Dennings, the director in the movie, he passed away, as well as Vasiliki Malirose, whose father Damien Karras' mother. And so they passed away like the year it was about to be released, so they never got to like
go to the
experience it. Yeah. So multiple sources stated that there's 9 deaths connected to the film. I couldn't find any information on the remaining 3, unless what I'm thinking is, what if they lost multiple family members?
That could be
because the way it's worded, it could be taken either way. Yeah. If that's the case, it's awful.
Yeah, that sucks.
Yeah. So those are the spooky set stories of The Exorcist. However, again, since we're doing real or fake, there's one hidden fake story in there. Okay. To our YouTube viewers, comment down below. Which ones do you guys think it is? For audio, go to our recent Instagram page post and let us know. But Jess, which one do you think is the fake set story?
Okay, you gave me multiple, so let me just make sure I'm grabbing them correctly. I have 9 people dying.
Yes.
That's one story. Then I have the black cat.
Yes.
That's the second story. Then I have
the injuries, the murder.
Oh, the one murder.
Yeah.
And then the set injuries.
The set injuries. And is there one more?
And the fire.
the fire and everybody's body's just not doing good.
Yeah.
So I gave you multiple.
Yeah, like 5 stories, I think.
5 or 6, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Fine, Rusty. I'm gonna say the story that's not real. A lot of people dying is hard, but a lot of people die all the time. The fire feels probable because weird, freaky stuff like that happens all the time.
Mm-hmm.
The cat could have just been stray, so that's not a big deal. I'm gonna say the killer story is not real.
It was the cat story.
The cat story was fake?
Yeah.
I felt it in my gut. Oh my gosh. I felt it in my gut. I was like, but that's so dumb. Like, it's just a stray cat. It could have just been a stray cat.
That's why I added it at the end. I was like, it could have just been a stray cat.
Oh my gosh.
I was like trying to do it too. I was like, I made a fake interview up.
Yeah. Oh, but now I'm bummed out because I really thought that murder one was like,
no, that's real. Unfortunately, yeah.
He was very, very inspoed by that film. Well, yeah. Well, that was cute. But, dude, there's always, like, Disneyland has stories all the time.
Oh, yeah. They have them there to catch the mouse.
Yeah.
The mice.
The mouse. The mouse.
Mickey Mouse.
Mickey Mouse. Well, that was a fun one.
Yeah.
But and I also really wanted the cat to kind of be alive just because it would have been a highlight for that actress since,
yeah. That's why I wanted to throw it in there. I'm like, she has a lot of downs. I got to give her an up.
The whole experience was trash for her. Yeah. So that would have ultimately ended up in being trash because the cat would have been MIA anyway, but at least it gave her one day of happiness.
I was thinking about maybe making it like a little darker and like the cat was dead. But I was like, no, that's too dark.
That might have gave it away though.
Yeah.
So I like that. It could have been a stray.
Mm-hmm.
That was a good move. Good job from the storyteller's point of view.
Thank you.
Well, guys, now that we have wrapped up this episode, because these are just a hint shorter, the final question we have, and as you know, is horror movie trivia. Since we spoke on stories based on true experiences to others, whether legend or not, I thought it'd be fitting that the final question touch on another true story. So in this question, we will ask you, in which film did Annabelle the doll make her debut?
Mm-hmm. We'll answer it on the next one.
Yeah, but and just to give you guys some quick insight as to why this Annabelle thing is even remotely real to some people, even if it's folklore to other, there was stories of these 2 nurse roommates that were living together, and basically one of them had a fiance, and the Annabelle doll was bought. Yeah. For her.
That's actually a hint because they show it in that movie.
So there you go. You've been hint. But yeah, at 28 years old, I'm like, Mom, don't be buying me no freaky
random
looking dolls at 28. I'm a nurse, but
you never know.
We'll break down the rest of that story on the next one when we give you the answer.
Yep. But as always, thank you guys for listening. Again, we're not experts on any of this, but I mean, what is there to be experts about?
Really, though.
Yeah. So we did include all the links to all these stories, the urban legends, everything. So that'll be in the description through our website. And to follow our podcast on social media, it's at Talks and Sips. And for personal accounts, mine is at Ceci.Enciso.
I'm at JFox with 2 X's and 2 underscores.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, before we go. Okay, before we go, I gotta ask, what you sipping? And what you sipping out of?
I figured stories, camp stories. Michael, whoa, Jason.
Campy stories.
Yeah, so I'm drinking out of Jason's head, and I'm drinking another pumpkin coffee because again, I'm a barista now, guys. Like
she's a barista, line producer, podcaster.
Yeah, many
hat wearing.
Yeah, I was gonna say what
activities.
Many belts. But yeah, that's what I'm having. What are you having?
Nice. Out of my almost could be a bowl for soup.
Yeah, it looks big.
It's pretty big. It's beefy, but it still fits in our really cool coasters.
That's true.
Anyway, I am having it's pretty sure it's a latte. It's cold now.
It's cold.
It was hot when I started. But yeah, I'm having a pumpkin spice latte, but since I'm health conscientious, I'm sure that's not even a word, but because I think about my health, I was like, hold the 4 pumps. Give me 2. Anyway, my thing is black and it has a skull and it's like a half pumpkin.
I was about to say, I only said it was Jason's head, but he's like splattered in blood and the handle is a knife or the machete that he uses.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah. And that's also splattered in blood.
Yeah. Everything is just bloody.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, we hope you enjoyed our episode, 4 of Spookies.
That means one is left.
Only
we're excited about it.
Yeah. Let us know how you feel. Make sure you're commenting on YouTube. Make sure that you're leaving good responses on Spotify. Make sure you're following and engaging with the social media. And it'll allow us to keep bringing you more of this. All right, guys.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.